Welcome back. Now, residents of EMBU town have asked the county government to prioritize the collection of garbage and urgently address the many environmental pollution problems facing them. The residents warn that the poor collection of garbage in the town poses a health hazard and could lead to an outbreak of diseases. Hassan Farah reports.
Heaps of garbage litter the roadside in EMBU town. The garbage menace is not only bad for business here, but it has also rendered the area almost uninhabitable. A grave situation that residents attribute to the failure by the county government to ensure regular garbage collection in the area. The EMBU Chamber of Commerce Chairman Samuel Kanyi says the defunct municipal council had constructed chambers along every street of EMBU town for garbage storage, and he does not understand why the lorries which were collecting the garbage those days were withdrawn.
Walimaliza gari za kukota takataka, wakajenga hizi ndio labda sijui ama ni mambo ya corruption ama si ya corruption, lakini ile badala ya kusafisha town ni uchafu walileta.
The traders representative complained that the garbage is usually left to rot in the chambers, and on most occasions it takes more than 3 weeks before it is collected. He lamented that this has resulted in an unconducive environment for the business community and residents to operate under.
Kila watu watembee kwa kila kijiji, estate, waone ile madhara tunagoja, a time bomb ya ugonjwa kama ile itatokea kwa hii takataka.
EMBU businessman BK Shital also said that the business community feels cheated by the county administration after being forced to pay huge amounts of money for garbage collection, yet the waste is left to rot at their entrances of their business premises.
To may complain so many times to the authorities that this should not be allowed in the middle of the main street in EMBU, but still tunaona hakuna kazi inafanywa. Hii inakaa hapa, it is very unsightly.
Hassan Farah, Citizen, live at 1.
All business news now, and sorghum is considered one of the crops that have received the least attention from scientific researchers in Kenya, a situation that has earned it the tag of an orphan crop. Now, this is despite its hugely untapped potential to boost the country's food security, which is heavily dependent on maize. But as Stephen Kimani tells us on Citizen TV's weekly agribusiness segment, Smart Farm, sorghum is now gaining commercial ground.
Deep inside Homa Bay County, Kabondo constituency, we meet Samuel Achoro Kola, a father of 6 and a tailor by profession. Samuel's initial experience with farming was largely on a subsistence scale, with maize as his main crop. But that changed when he switched to sorghum, a crop whose stature is yet to match that of maize, which is Kenya's national food staple. But according to Samuel, sorghum tips the scales with its nutritional and commercial value.
Yule iko na mtama gunia moja inasinda yule iko na mahindi gunia 2, kwa sababu kuna wakati mahindi inakuwa 3,000 na mtama na kuanga hata 4,500.
It cost Samuel about 30,000 shillings to cultivate an acre of sorghum, with each acre producing at least 20 sacks of sorghum. One can harvest sorghum twice a year.
Kama saa hii ni mwezi wa 7. Mwezi wa 8 tunatoa mtama. Alafu hiyo imebaki, tukisakata hiyo imebaki, sasa tunabadilia tena. Alafu inamea. Kifika Desemba hivi, sasa mtama naiba tena.
Samuel's first harvest from his farm stood at 40 sacks of sorghum. With each sack retailing at an average of 5,000 shillings, Achoro made gross sales to the tune of 200,000 shillings. Sweet as the returns may be, Samuel admits that sorghum farming is a labor-intensive activity that entails regular weeding, guarding the farm against birds that feed on the mature crop, as well as threshing and winnowing the harvested crop.
Mtama ni kitu ambayo ukisa panda, unakuwa busy sana, huwezi fanya kazi yoyote.
There is also the challenge of selling it to a market that seems lukewarm to the crop.
Tujakuwa na soko mzuri ya kutosa, lakini tunapelekanga tu kwa hii soko, tunauza kidogo kidogo. Hiyo ndio sababu inarudisha biashara yetu chini.
But that could soon change in light of the adoption of sorghum by the region's biggest brewer, East African Breweries, as an alternative to barley in the beer brewing process. But from Samuel Achoro's standpoint, it is the crop's untapped potential as a source of food that should be taken more seriously at the national level.
Kama chakula inakuwa kwa Kenya, Kenya haitakuwa na shida. Kile inaleta shida ni njaa. Lakini mtama ikiwa mingi kwa Kenya, watu wote watapata chakula ya kutosha.
And that is timely advice, considering that sorghum is a drought-resistant crop that requires little rain to thrive. Stephen Kimani, Smart Farm.
Now, are you driving here, Wahiga is angry because I said it's Michael Kenny coming in with sports news. It's Wahiga Mora, the awesome one. You'll see him in a short while. Like I was saying, if Wahiga can now give me a break, are you an aspiring entrepreneur? Do you have 200,000 shillings and a driving passion for business? Well, you might want to consider the business of selling timber. On our weekly enterprise segment, What It Takes, we take a look at what it takes to set up a successful timber selling enterprise, as told to us by Wanjiku Kimemia, who has been in that business for the last 2 years.
Your contributions will not be taxed.
Retirement Benefits Authority, safeguarding your retirement benefits.
My name is Wanjiku Kimemia, and this is Kinoro Enterprises, and I'm in partners with Masharia Kinoro. We do a lot of timber, and we have different types of timber. We have Griveria, we have pine, we have cypress, we have blue gum, and it depends with what the client wants. The capital depends on the type of wood you want. You, as the supplier, you might require to start with Griveria or pine or cypress. So roughly we would say maybe you need like 200, because it also depends where you're going to get your timber from. When it comes to sourcing, we have going to the field and also you staying at your yard and being brought for. Now going to the field, we have some pros and cons. The cons are you'll have the police officers who will disturb you because of the length of the timber depending on the car that you have. You'll also need a road license. And also the weather, depending on where you're going to get. Some types of cars, they may not be able to get their way through there. Now the pros are you'll be able to choose the quality of the timber yourself and discuss it with the supplier that you have. The other aspect of timber business is labor. Now labor comes in different ways. There's the loading, for example, if the suppliers bring the timber, we have the loading and the offloading. We also have people who make these trappers. We also have people who have, when the client comes, they have to measure the timber and also load it to their car. We also have the security. We also have the drivers. You cannot have a specific amount of people and say that you only need 5 people. No, it depends. It depends with the work, with the work for that day. On a good day, let's say we have like 1,000 board feet. For the labor, we can pay at least 5,000 shillings because of the loading and also transport the client. In the timber business, we get our clients through the contractors, through the engineers, through the home expos. We also market ourselves by visiting different sites and also referrals from different people. There are also other requirements. Key requirement is the license. You need the license depending on where you'll locate your yard from the city council. You'll also need the road license so that you can be able to supply to your clients. The other requirement that is needed is the yard. Where are you going to place this, the timber? That is also a requirement. The other one that you need is the transport. You need to have cars where you'll be able to transport your materials. The weekly income could be 50,000, depending on how much board feet you've sold. And most clients will take like 4,000 board foot. So the income is quite generous and prompting you to do more. The greatest challenge we have is the weather. So the weather is from when the suppliers bring. For example, when it stays here, if it's for the cypress, it will shrink. If it is for the blue gum, it will bend. If it is for the grevillea, the customers will want to come and get something clean and dry. There are also other, when it comes to pine, they also want dry timber. So we might not be able to have dry timber for the clients. The other challenge we have is political. If we don't have political stability in the country, then we cannot sell at all. That means the timber is just going to lay here. Other economical challenge we have is the suppliers paying us, our clients. Yes, we may get a very big order, a lot, and you're good about it, but when it comes to payment, they will take long. Sometimes even though you agree that after 2 weeks they're supposed to pay you, they don't pay you because they're also waiting for their clients to pay them as contractors. Timber business is very good. My word of advice would be to have the drive, the passion for building so that you may be able to advise your clients, and don't look so much on the capital because it depends on depending on the area where you've put your yard, it depends on what your clients require. Basically, that is what it takes to run timber business in a successful way.
Your contributions will not be taxed.
Retirement Benefits Authority, safeguarding your retirement benefits.
Let's take a look at the forex market report now, and the Kenyan shilling has firmed up against the US dollar today after demand from companies seeking the US currency eased off. Oil companies had been behind much of the demand for dollars, helping to drive the shilling lower. Commercial banks have indicatively posted the shilling at 87 shillings, 61 cents buying, 87 shillings, 79 cents selling. According to the Central Bank of Kenya, the shilling also gained to both the euro and the sterling pound to exchange at 118 shillings and 48 cents buying to the euro and 150 shillings and 13 cents versus the pound. Against the East African currencies, the shilling recorded minimal movement to change hands at 18 shillings and 5 cents buying to the Tanzanian shilling and 30 shillings and 1 cent to the Ugandan unit. That's all in business. Now, in other news, the National Police Service Commission Chairman Johnson Kavuludi now says that the Commission will audit Monday's police recruitment. Kavuludi has also promised that the exercise will be annulled and repeated where malpractices will be unearthed. He urged all those aggrieved by the just concluded police recruitment exercise to lodge complaints within 7 days. Also present was the Inspector General of Police, David Kimayo, who clarified that no directive was issued to disqualify those with coloured teeth.
The centres where it is ascertained that the exercise was not above board, recruitment will be annulled and it will lead to a repeat of the recruitment exercise in all the affected areas. Action will be taken against those who will be found culpable during the recruitment exercise, and this includes administrative as well as legal action with a view to prosecuting any persons that are engaged in any vices that will be regarded as breaking the law.
More complaints about the just concluded police recruitment exercise, meanwhile, continue to be voiced in many counties across the country. In Trans Nzoia County, some residents took to the streets to protest against the exercise in the county, claiming it was marred by corruption. Marion Kisoso has the details.
The angry residents marched to the local police headquarters to make their grievances known. They allege the exercise was unfair and marred by corruption. They now want the entire exercise repeated.
Nililia na kushangaa na kunyamaza. Kwa sababu nilikuwa najua kwamba kama nimekimbia hivi na nimepata namba 1 nimeandikwa na nimewacha umaskini. Sasa tunaomba kwamba viongozi wetu wa Kenya watuangalie hii maneno na tusaidie na warudie tena ili tufaulu.
The county representative for Lumut Ward in Trans Nzoia, Ellen Madio, says she was angered by the handling of the recruitment exercise as no one from her ward was picked.
Mimi ni mmoja wenye tulikuwa jana wakiandika police na epi hapa Central Pokot. Ambacho niliona kwa macho yangu ndio imenifanya leo kuandamana na hawa watu wangu kujua ni kwa nini bado kitendo kama hicho kinatendeka katika area yetu.
The residents join many other Kenyans who have lamented about the handling of the exercise. The National Police Service Commission has given members of the public with grievances about the exercise 7 days to file their complaints. Marion Kisoso, Citizen Live at 1.
Now, the Orange Democratic Movement's parliamentary group meeting is currently underway at Orange House in Nairobi. Party leader Raila Odinga is chairing the meeting. Over 50 legislators from the National Assembly and the Senate, as well as members of the East African Legislative Assembly, are attending the meeting. We're now joined live on phone by our senior reporter, Francis Gashuri. Gashuri, one of the issues was to resolve differences brought by the push for the referendum. How far have they gone?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you, Hussein. Indeed, the meeting is going on. It has been going on since about 11 o'clock. ODM party leader Raila Odinga is chairing the meeting, and about 50 members of parliament are present, both from the National Assembly and the Senate. And the deliberations basically are on the referendum that has been demanded by the coalition. There are separate meetings that are going on. Ford Kenya is holding its meeting, and also another constituent party of the CORD alliance, that is the Wiper Democratic Party, is also holding its parliamentary group meeting elsewhere. Basically, we're saying it's to try and convince the members of parliament from the three main political parties in the CORD coalition to buy into the referendum idea. Quite a number of them have been complaining that they have not been briefed, fully briefed, so to say. They have not been updated on exactly what the referendum is all about. And some even complaining that the call for referendum has seemed personalized by the party leaders, that is Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Moses Wetangula. So basically the three leaders in the coalition have called their respective members of parliament to try and convince them to support the idea of a referendum. There has been a standoff, saying, over the formation of the National Referendum Committee by the CORD coalition that will spearhead the referendum process, that is collection of 1 million signatures, delivering the same draft bill to the counties and so on and so forth. And of course, we've been campaigning for the referendum exercise. And also the issues that are supposed to be listed in the process of a referendum. Some of the members of parliament insisting that some of the issues cannot be subjected to a referendum. For example, national security, the fight against corruption, cost of living, and so on and so forth. So basically, today's meeting, we're saying here at Orange House and elsewhere, is basically to try and convince the members of parliament to buy into the idea of a referendum, even as they live here, so that they can go and try and convince their supporters across the country and in the counties to support the idea of a referendum. The meeting is not yet over, Hussein, right. But as soon as they are done with it, we'll basically know what they have said, not only the briefing, but also what we call the inside story.
Right. Gashuri, before I let you go, we know that that team was supposed to be appointed sometime this week. Actually, yesterday, that didn't happen. Well, I believe all these parties holding their meetings will come up with resolutions later, and I believe it will be harmonized. Is there an indication when this will be done, a harmonization of what resolutions each respective party in the coalition has made, and maybe when we'll have the team?
From what we gather, Hussein, is that the three leaders in the coalition agreed to go and hold the separate meetings to convince their members of parliament, and the outcome of the three simultaneous meetings will be harmonized by the CORD secretariat. so that they can come up with a list of issues that are agreeable across the three main political parties in the coalition. That is the issues that they want fronted for referendum, the method, the resources that will be used to mobilize for referendum, the formation or the establishment of a national referendum committee, because it must get a representation from the three main political parties, and also a team that will spearhead the process. So basically, after the three separate meetings, Hussein, they will, the respective secretariats of the parties will now front their issues, their views, their resolutions and ideas to the court secretariat that will harmonize them. And maybe by next week, they will announce their roadmap for referendum. But as it stands now, Hussein, it's just trying to convince the members of parliament, especially those who had misgivings about the whole issue about a referendum, to buy into the idea. A number of MPs that I've spoken to who are very conspicuous in their missing out during the court rallies across the country that preceded the Saba Saba rally. Some of them were telling me that they are not convinced about the idea of a referendum, and that there are better ways of trying to address the issues that they want subjected to a referendum. And also the whole question of whether the party will actually, the coalition will actually manage to get through the process of a national referendum. Remember, they require 1 million signatures. They must take the resolutions to the IEBC, and of course take the draft bill to all the 47 counties and get at least 24 counties to support so that the referendum can proceed. Some of them saying they're not very convinced about whether they have the requisite numbers to do so. But basically, those are the deliberations that are going on currently, and we'll be able to update our viewers exactly what will be the outcome of this meeting and the other meetings, that is for Fort Kenya and for Wiper, that are being held separately. Right.
The leaders, of course, have still the afternoon to try and convince them. Francis Gashuri coming is live on phone at Orange House in Nairobi. Of course, join him later for the story on what happens in the three respective meetings and what they decide. Now, a somber mood engulfed Wangwashi village in Laikipia West as residents laid to rest a 50-year-old woman who was murdered by suspected cattle rustlers last week. Mary Mudhoni, who was a widow, was allegedly shot dead as she was preparing dinner with her family on Thursday night. She died while being rushed to the Nyahururu District Hospital. The bandits also stole 15 goats from her compound, and her son, Simon Joroge, managed to escape the attackers.
Hii sio kitu rahisi vile watu wanaishukua. Ni kitu gumu sisi hasa wakina mama. Huyu mama amelala hapa ni wa sita kuuawa hapa katika Laikipia. Ninataka kuuliza, je, sisi wa mama tutauliwa mpaka lini katika Laikipia?
Miezi kama miwili imeisha, kuna mtu mmoja aliuawa. Watu wale wameshaguliwa walikuja wakatupatia hope na hakuna kitu kilifanyika. Miezi mingine miwili iliyokuwa imepita, kuna mama ambaye alikuwa ameuawa. Nao wakaja wakatupatia hope, hakuna kitu kilifanyika.
Geomba wajumbe ambao wamechaguliwa wasaidie, waweke pressure, manake kazi ya serikali huenda polepole. Na hii hatutaki iende polepole, tunataka iwekwe manani, maana mioyo mingi imepotea hapa Wangwashi.
Well, our condolences to family and friends. Now, Wahiga Mora and, as you can see, not Michael Kini.
And the Kantakaras Hussein Mohammed. Good to be back here with you. You give me a name, I gotta give you a name. It's only fair.
Yeah, I never gave you a name. You gave yourself a name.
I didn't give myself a name. I asked you for proof and you didn't give it to me. But there's a better story than what we are talking about.
Obviously.
Harambe Stars.
Awesome Wahiga, yeah.
The Harambe Stars
I have two reasons to celebrate.
Go ahead, tell me why.
Harambe Stars and Germany.
And Germany.
Yes.
Germany #1 on the FIFA rankings as we speak, followed by Argentina, the Netherlands, Colombia, Belgium, and Uruguay. All have benefited, of course, from the previous the World Cup that has just passed. Kenya, position 95, first time over 100 in a long time, Hussein. And, 13 points up, actually. 13 spaces up, and that's a good thing. We haven't lost the last 3 matches. Comoros, home and away, we won. We drew with Burundi this Wednesday. And so, hopefully, we could get to 70, and maybe we can see more and more Kenyans playing in the English Premier League. We have lots and lots of stories lined up. We take a short break now, however.